This video is designed to talk you through some of the key points in answering evaluate questions in your paper 1 and 2 GCSE exam. Some of the rules for these evaluate questions are as follows. It's probably worthwhile just mentioning that the evaluate questions can be worth anything from sort of 6 through to 9 mark questions associated with case study questions. So it's important that we get these nailed down. In terms of rules, evaluate means give positives and negatives, and the starting point is always to give positives. In some of the questions it might not be a positive, it might be an advantage, or it might be a benefit, just depending on the nature of the question. Following that, we always give our negatives or disadvantages or drawbacks, but effectively they all mean the same thing. And the final area is that you've got to state your opinion in these questions. So any evaluate question, the examiner is looking to see positives, negatives, and your own personal opinion in a conclusion statement at the end. With regards to your personal opinion, we've talked about this in class, that you've got 3 options. You can agree entirely, you can disagree, or you can sit somewhere in the middle and say, you can see benefits and drawbacks, or you can see positives and negatives for the stem of the question. Some other areas, particularly if it is a case study question, it's really important to include detail. So we're looking at the idea that you build in fact, figure, place into your answer. So one of the questions that I've been discussing recently in class is about evaluating the river management strategies used in the Mississippi. So we were talking today about the use of levees as one of those management strategies. Well, obviously the fact, figure, place that goes with that is that they were raised to a height of 15 metres for a distance of 3,000 kilometres along the length of the Mississippi. So the fact that you've got your positive or negative and the fact, figure, place built into it, that's what the examiner likes to see. Another area is the use of terminology. So this idea that rather than, again, if I take Mississippi as an example, one of the management strategies used in the Mississippi was to plant trees in the upper course of the river. So the best pupils will mention afforestation rather than simply using planting trees. So again, it's this idea of the use of terminology, afforestation in this example, and again spelling, particularly for case study questions which have a value attached to them. So the idea again that Mississippi could be spelt correctly, the Tennessee Valley could be spelt correctly as one of the aspects of that case study. So those are our general rules in terms of answering evaluate questions. The kind of motto or overarching rule is positives, negatives, personal opinion. Okay, some examples. So question 1. Evaluate the extent to which river management strategies used in a river that you have studied outside the British Isles can be considered sustainable. Command word here, evaluate, so positives, negatives, personal opinion. Outside the British Isles immediately tells you that it's Mississippi, and the stem of the question here is asking you about sustainability. Okay. If you're comfortable with having a go at this question, you can pause the video now. Note that it's worth 8 marks and there are 4 marks for spelling, punctuation and grammar. If you're not happy, you can listen to the rest of the talk through and then have a go at the question. So obviously the first starting point that we would have here is that you would state the case study, and in this case that would be Mississippi. Next, take one of the river management strategies. So the idea here is that we could start maybe with levees. Point, explain, expand on the levees. So the point is that the levees were raised to a height of 15 metres for 3,000 kilometres. And again, we're hitting the fact, figure, place that we talked about in our rules. You can talk that this increases the capacity of the rivers and allows them to hold more water, and that this reduces the likelihood of flooding. Now, we need to supplement this PEE at this stage by mentioning whether this can be considered sustainable. And the idea here is that the levees are a hard engineering strategy, So the idea is that, yeah, they are not sustainable because they will require maintenance to ensure that if they broke, the flood wouldn't be worse than it would have been. Okay, because this is an 8-mark question, I think at this stage it's advisable to use a second river management strategy. So you've got a range of options, but we'll go for afforestation as the example that we'll use here. So again, point, explain, expand. Afforestation is the planting of trees, and we will talk about the planting of the trees in the upper course. You will then mention that this occurs in the Tennessee Valley, and remember that the planting of trees increases the rate of interception, slows down surface runoff, and reduces the chance of flooding. This is a soft engineering strategy, so it can be considered sustainable. However, it can take up to 20 years because it is fully effective. At this stage, we want to see you finish off this answer with some sort of personal opinion. I'll just move it over to the side here at this stage. So, personal opinion. So for me, I would probably say that, remember the question's about to what extent they can be considered sustainable. I would say something like, the soft engineering strategies are truly sustainable, but because they take such a long time to become fully effective, a combination of soft and hard engineering strategies should be used. Let's have a look at the mark scheme. So, some of the key aspects of the mark scheme are that we need 2 facts figures places, so 2 FFP named for full level 3. So in the answer that I've just talked you through, we named the Tennessee Valley, and we also named the height of the levees and the distance that they were engineered for. So that allows us to hit full level 3. There's clear evaluation to the extent to which the strategy is sustainable, so that's where we gave our positives and negatives, and you can see here an example. There's your figures, 15 metres along 3,000 kilometres, and they've also talked in here about meanders being straightened. These are expensive and require maintenance. Such strategies should be unsustainable due to cost and environmental problems. Recently, they've spent $25 million buying farmland prone to flooding. So there's your fact figure place. And this is more sustainable than the levy. So that's the personal opinion bit at the end. When they say some element of judgment needed for top level 3, we're trying to hit that by giving our personal opinion. Many of you will also notice that there are 4 marks for spelling, punctuation and grammar. Now, if you look at the details with this, it says candidates spell, punctuate and use the rules of grammar with accuracy, and they have a good control of meaning. Where required, they use a range of specialist terms. If you think about that in the context with the guidance I gave you earlier on, this idea that we include detail, use terminology and spelling, that if you follow the guidance in terms of the answer, you don't really need to worry about the spelling, punctuation and grammar, because if you hit level 3 with all the guidance, you'll get your 4 marks from that and give you 12 out of 12. Sorry, 11 out of 11 for this question. Second example, explain one renewable energy resource you have studied, explaining how its use is a sustainable solution to the problem of resource depletion. So again, you can pause the video at this stage and have a look at that answer. There's the mark scheme. So in this example, they're going to talk about wind power. This means it's sustainable as one small wind farm provides electricity for 8,000 homes. So that's our fact figure place. Again, it's saying 2 are needed. We would probably use our Denmark case study for this to allow us to hit level 3, 6 out of 6. Sorry, I've missed out question 2 here. Evaluate the impacts of international migration on named country in the European Union. Again, pause the video at this stage and have a go at the question. if you need some additional details. This is our UK case study, and we are going to give a positive PEE, and we're going to build in fact figure place with that. Negative PEE, build in fact figure place, and then we'll finish off with our personal opinion. If you have a look at the mark scheme, you'll see that fits the 7 out of 7 required for this question. Final example question is question 4. Evaluate the measures used to manage traffic in a sustainable manner in a named city you've studied within the European Union outside the British Isles. So of course this is our Freiburg case study, starting by stating the case study. Again, 1 point, explain, expand with fact, figure, place within it. And the positive aspect of that, point, explain, expand, fact, figure, place, negative aspect, followed up with personal opinion to allow you to hit the top marks on this. There's the mark scheme that goes with it. Check your answers, and hopefully you'll have found this helpful in terms of preparing for the Evaluate questions.